Andrew, so glad we could finally meet and have this meeting. So good to finally connect. Pat with Aqueous Vets shakes hands and hands business card. Sounds like you wanted to go through some other vessel options prior to your meeting with the city. Well, I'm here to help.
Morning, Pat. That would be great. Looking for some help for me and my team, as I am the head engineer on the project.
Thanks again so much, Andrew, for setting up this meeting and glad we could make it work. I know you and your team are busy this time of year. I did not see much information in the email, but what is the main driver of having this meeting and presentation today?
Well, our end user, the city, is pretty set on your competition, and they have been referred to them and used in the past. However, with this funding mechanism, we feel it is dutiful to at least consider other options. So I appreciate getting the opportunity to learn more about AV and their offering.
Andrew, that sounds great, and I'm always more than happy to help have a presentation with clients such as yourself and their options. AV has been supporting clients in the exact same situation as the landscape of drinking water continues to change. I know Vince and his team really appreciate a presentation. I am sure that's why he referred me to you. Before we jump in, I'd like to confirm that we have an hour for this meeting slash presentation. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, I did have a meeting come up, so I only have 45 minutes. Is that going to be an issue for you, Pat?
I totally understand and no worries at all. 45 minutes will work. One last thing I wanted to verify. You're the one who provides the final recommendation to the city, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I have the final say of vendor input, but of course, the decision is ultimately the city's with their funding. However, we usually help to guide that decision based on what we feel the best offering is.
Thank you for the clarifications there. Helpful to ensure that I have that correct. Vince stated in his referral that you were looking at a similar situation to him. Based on that statement, I'd like to start with some questions so I can learn about any unique needs you have. From there, we can go over potential solutions that AV can provide with our offering in terms of use with your engineering firm. Finally, as the city is ultimately tied in with their funding, I'd like to discuss financial benefits of AV systems. That is really important to us as we consider the entire life cycle of the project, not just the initial sale. Anything that I missed that I might need to consider?
No, not at all. That sounds perfect. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. You mentioned that the city has current treatment in place. Was the relationship established by your team or the client?
That was by the state, actually. It was part of an emergency funding paid for by a lawsuit. So it was more of an impulse buy to get something up and running. They are an approved vendor, so it made that an easy decision.
Thank you, Andrew. So can you clarify how that relationship has been since the sale? Have you been able to get what is needed from them?
That's a good question. The city would say yes, but I'm on the fence. Their response times are fast, but everything is standardized. They do not seem to take a unique site or client situations into consideration. For a non-emergency RFQ like this, I think we need to at least consider other options.
I see. Thank you. And tell me more about thoroughness and customized approaches. It sounds like that is very important to you.
That's correct. We don't just support this client, we support dozens of municipalities currently, and everyone has unique needs and issues. I don't know that a cookie cutter approach is warranted, and that is why we're all here as engineers, right?
Correct. Yes. Much appreciated. So it's very important for you to look at various options and really do your homework, even if your client is not. That's how you present your value.
100%. That's correct.
Now, you stated that you feel that the current provider is selling more cookie cutter off the shelf solutions. With this site having unique restrictions on height and pressure, it's important to have these conversations. Is the current vendor aware that you're taking those two into consideration?
They are aware. It is in the RFP. However, I have not had any follow-up site visits from them or with them, I suppose. And the bid is due early next week.
Very interesting. Unfortunately, that is not surprising to me. There are a lot of things to evaluate other than the system. Something could get missed on the install, and it makes it a nightmare.
Yeah, I think there were issues at another site where the unloading and install were complicated by the site layout. The operations crew is not very happy about that.
I bet they were not. No one wants to spend a lot of money on a new system and then have issues on the install. That is why I'm very glad we could get together today and be on site and review everything. Thank you again for that.
I agree, and you're absolutely welcome. It is good to walk through other items of concern that may arise.
Yeah, I appreciate you wanting to look at this opportunity as a whole for the client. That is very aligned with how AV and myself operate. Tell me, beyond the sale and install, what is another important area of concern?
Say O&M costs are very important to me. I don't think that they're talked about enough.
I do agree they are not talked about enough, but can you tell me more about specific concerns?
Yeah, of course. So your system and these building modifications are covered by federal funding, so the client is not concerned. However, we anticipate the system to run for the next 25 plus years, so there will be a lot of cost associated with that. The client has not really thought about that as the previous sale was so focused on the present. The funding only covers this install. The client's going to have to cover the rest of it.
So if you could find a provider that has taken that exact thing into consideration of their design, would it be of value to you in the city, even if they are not considering it?
Yeah, absolutely. They don't want to be stuck holding a larger bill than they already have to.
I appreciate you taking the time to answer my question and help me understand the sport. In conclusion, you're looking for a reliable partner who will not just help you with the requested system, but will take the entire site into consideration and provide savings over the life cycle to the client. Is that correct?
Great summarization. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Is there anything else you would like to discuss before we get into the reviewing potential solutions?
No, let's move forward.
All right, being as we are on site today, I'll pull up the presentation on my laptop. Is that all right?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Excellent. To save time, I'll run through these first few slides quickly as we did discuss these items, but still reference them. Just give me 1 second to share. Can you see my presentation?
I can. I cannot actually, Pat. It looks like your laptop is having an issue.
How about now?
Looks great. Thanks so much for double checking.
There we go. Thank you. So first few slides from concept commission, AV does it all. So, we like to start at the design and engineering, and then we go all the way through training and startup. Again, you're not just buying the initial sale. And then here, this important fact is the 4 tenets of pressure vessel design. You'll hear me speak a lot about those. So as discussed, to start our meeting, AV really prides itself on being a complete partner to our clients and their clients. From concept to commission is important for us and the many concerns you expressed. We are not interested in just a sale. We are interested in being solutions provider and taking care of you throughout the whole process. Also, as you can see on slide 3 right here, we have what we call the 4 tenets of pressure vessel design, which you'll hear me saying a lot in the coming slides. Speaking of which, what are the 4 tenets of pressure vessel design? We have corrosion management, hydraulic performance, media optimization, and long-term optimization and maintenance. Does anything stick out to you on this page?
Yeah, a lot of great information. But really, what sticks out to me, I see that AV has really done their homework with their offering, specifically calling out the lowest cost of ownership, right? That total package, including O&M, which is important to me.
Yeah, absolutely correct. AV came to be because of the inefficiencies we saw in the market. And as discussed before, we wanted to make sure that we consider long-term of the customer and their expenditures.
That's great to hear. And I'm excited to learn more about how AV achieves this.
Oh, great timing, Andrew. These next few slides will dive into that deeper. So we'll start with corrosion management. So over here in the top left, you see a header lateral system. In the bottom left, you see a internal cone. And in the top right, you see the SEPTA design. Corrosion comes from many factors, but two main things are the introduction of dissimilar metals, so all these different components, and the inability to line and coat the inside of a tank. AV has simplified the design to avoid these issues. As you can see, we only have 8 nozzles here, and there's nothing really in the tank, so we can coat it. Anything that sticks out to you on these?
Yeah, from looking at this, putting the pieces together a little bit, I would imagine the O&M is much simpler on your design as well.
That is very good. Thank you. You hammer the point about everything we've done in our design to provide the lowest cost of ownership over 25 years. In our next two slides, I will combine these just due to timing, but we have hydraulic performance and we have media optimization. So every good vessel is going to create this plug flow and establish a mass transfer zone. Our competition does that. Again, no secret there to you. But what's important about ours is in doing that, we create the lowest pressure drop. So as you can see here, ours is about 6 psi on this system, and our competition is about 15. That creates more pumping costs in the future. Also beyond
Hmm.
that, you can see that we have the lowest unused media below the effluent drains compared to our customers. Anything that sticks out to hear you, Andrew?
Yeah, well, again, kudos to you guys. Take your flowers. Looks like AV has really evaluated the best options, and that each feature here will provide savings in the long run.
Correct again. Just looking at the media usage alone here, we see a net delta of 46 cubic feet less media waste. Your
Hmm.
last bid had a cost of $3,800 per cubic foot. So every media cycle, we save $7,600 just on one system.
Wow.
Your other site is 6 systems, so that's $45,600 saved in one media cycle. Based on that over 25 years of doing 10 media cycles, that's almost $500,000 you would have saved for the city. Do you think that's something
Wow.
that would be of value to the city, Andrew?
Yeah, it's really incredible when you think about it and you present it in this way. It really helps me understand. I see this value.
Excellent. I agree. And last, we're on our fourth tenant, operation and maintenance over the life cycle. And, this tenant really lives within our other tenants. And I want to bring this picture back. Hopefully it looks familiar. It's of our SEPTA design. And what's important also, as you mentioned earlier, you kind of alluded to, but any of those pieces break within the design, that media then has to be removed. You have to have confined space entry to get into the tank, and then you have to repair it. And there's a lot of moving parts. We have 8.
Yeah.
Best part is this over here on this picture top right is our external ring header. We can drop that out, pull out these nozzles, put them back in, and you're up and running in no time. You don't have to
Hmm.
take out the media, no confined space entry. No other tank can do that. And then this bottom graphic I really like because it's important and kind of as we've alluded to, we spend 1 to 2 years in the red, this design phase, 1 to 2 years in the construction, the installation, the on-site, but the owner spends all their time in the blue. That's 25 to 50 years, so it's not really worth saving pennies up here in the red and the gray if you're going to cost dollars down here in the blue. Um, sorry, I skipped over a little bit. Last down here, total cost of ownership. I just want to show one more graphic of another system. If we look here comparing our system to a competitor, we have about a delta of 4,000 savings a year just in pumping costs from our lower pressure
Mm.
drop. This city had 15 systems. So if they're saving $4,000 a year over 25 years, that's $1.5 million. For the system we have here, that's 6 systems on your other site. And that client, so that brings that number to just over 600,000. Pair that with the carbon savings we just discussed, you're looking at over $1 million in 25 years. Again, is that a benefit to your customer, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, of course, and I'd be remiss without saying that that's not something that our competition or your competition had spoke to us about. So I'm glad you're bringing the receipts, if you will, to help us better understand that.
Yeah, and that's great to hear. And I believe it's a great benefit to the customer as well, and not talked about enough. And again, we like doing our homework. So thanks again. These conversations have been excellent. Looks like we're getting close to your cutoff. Still good for a few minutes?
5 more minutes works great for me, Pat.
Excellent. As we have discussed, our offering takes a whole system overview approach with the end user in mind at every step. Our 4 tenants will all work in tandem to be efficient and easy to use for your operators. And we have seen just how any other site that you have could save $1 million. What are your thoughts, Andrew? Would you recommend our bid to the city?
Yeah, the solution meets everything that I find important, but it would still be a sell to the city as your bids typically come in a bit higher for the systems.
I can certainly understand that, and everyone is driven by costs. And I wish we could be lower on bid day, but I could also never sacrifice the value we provide. On the last system, in total, we were 300K over the competition, if I recall. And I understand that's a hard for the city to look at and then need to trust that the savings will come back over 25 years. It's a long time. However, can I ask you a question and hope that you would ask the city? There's funding upfront for these systems an initial run of 2 years, correct? But what about the next 23 years? Who pays that bill? Is it worth it to sacrifice 300,000 of guaranteed funds to pay for $1 million out of your own pocket?
That's a great point, Pat, right? Being a consultant, we want to talk about the whole picture, right? These system requirements only being relevant for a couple years, it's hard to think that far.
I agree. Want to be aligned with looking out for your client like you do. Can I move forward with our bid knowing you'll solely recommend us?
Right away.
All right. Thank you again, Andrew, and I'll have that to you this afternoon.